Burkina Faso, you want to make us Libya too. You want to make us Syria. You want to make us Iraq. But not this time, because we've awakened, because we've learned, because we've united.
On a quiet Tuesday morning in Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso, the city woke up to something unexpected. At 8 a.m., military trucks rolled through the streets, heading toward an unremarkable office building on the eastern side of town. Soldiers stepped out, boots hitting the pavement with precision, and entered without a word. Inside, they uncovered stacks of documents, encrypted phones, and hard drives. Outside, the building bore the logo of a telecommunications company, just another tech firm, at least on the surface. But Burkina Faso's government, led by a determined leader named Traoré, had uncovered the truth. That company was a front. It was secretly collecting intelligence on behalf of Israel. This was no random raid. It was the first move in a well-coordinated operation. By 11 a.m., 6 more companies across the country had been targeted, each linked to Israeli intelligence. Networks were frozen. Offices were shut down, their secrets exposed. There were no press conferences or public warnings, just swift, calculated action. Traoré wasn't merely cleaning house, he was sending a message, not just to those companies, but directly to Israel's Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu. For years, Israel had quietly expanded its influence across Africa, offering defense contracts, technology, and aid programs. On the surface, it looked like cooperation, but behind those partnerships were hidden motives: access to Africa's natural resources, political intelligence, and migration data. Many of the companies involved were intelligence fronts. They weren't here to help, they were here to watch, record, and report. Traoré had been tracking this web for years. He knew these deals were about power, not partnership, and so he acted. At 2 p.m., Traoré stepped before the press. Calmly, he delivered a powerful statement: "Africa is not your blind spot anymore." These words weren't meant for Burkina Faso's neighbors. They were aimed straight at Netanyahu and every foreign power that had taken Africa for granted. And Traoré wasn't done. He announced that all defense and surveillance contracts with Israel were canceled effective immediately. Any organization tied to foreign intelligence was ordered to leave. Diplomats suspected of espionage had until the next morning to pack their bags and exit the country. Images quickly spread online: emptied offices, equipment boxed up, soldiers escorting staff out. Trucks rolled away with crates of encrypted gear. Traoré had sent no warnings. He'd asked for no permission. He simply acted, and the world took notice. By the end of the day, neighboring countries began to react. Mali halted all imports of Israeli military tech. Guinea suspended joint cybersecurity projects. Niger launched an investigation into its own foreign infrastructure deals. In just 72 hours, 3 countries had joined Burkina Faso's lead. A wave was building. Back in Israel, panic set in. Netanyahu called an emergency meeting. Behind closed doors, advisors scrambled to assess the damage. One reportedly warned, "This isn't just about Burkina Faso. He's building a wall against us." They were right. Traoré's actions weren't isolated. They were part of something bigger, a doctrine. Traoré's plan, now being called the Traoré Doctrine, laid out a new strategy for protecting African sovereignty. It was built on 3 pillars. 1. Total transparency. All foreign entities must be open about their operations. No more hidden agendas. 2. Zero tolerance. Anyone caught spying or interfering would be expelled. No exceptions. 3. Continental cooperation. African nations would share intelligence and work together to expose foreign manipulation. This wasn't just about Israel. It was about ending decades of quiet control by powerful nations. For years, countries like Israel, the US, and former colonial powers made deals in Africa that looked beneficial, but came with strings attached. These deals gave them access to minerals, military leverage, and political influence. Often, they even stoked divisions between African nations to keep the continent fragmented and weak. Traoré addressed this head-on. "You funded our divisions. You mapped our minerals. You called us unstable when we refused your chains." This time, Africa was saying no. In Burkina Faso, the people poured into the streets, not in protest, but in celebration. Young people waved banners that read, "Africa is not for sale. No more shadows." For too long, Africans were left in the dark, while secret deals shaped their destiny. Traoré changed that by making it all public. He became more than a leader. He became a symbol. Across the continent, people began asking what real independence looked like, not just freedom from old colonial rulers, but freedom from modern exploitation. Meanwhile, Netanyahu found himself with no easy options. He couldn't send troops. It would spark international outrage. Diplomats were already being expelled, and this time, his usual allies weren't rushing to help. The US issued a vague call for dialogue. France remained silent. The European Union said nothing. They all understood. Traoré wasn't acting alone. He was speaking for a continent. In Israel, government analysts started tracking what they called the Traoré effect. the rapid spread of his doctrine across Africa. Israel stood to lose billions in arms sales, tech exports, and access to critical data. Reports soon confirmed it. 6 West African nations were now collaborating to expose foreign companies engaged in surveillance and political interference. Israeli companies topped the list. A regional security network was being built by Africans, for Africans, without foreign oversight. Even the African Union began drafting a resolution to endorse Traoré's doctrine and encourage all 54 nations to follow his lead. What started as a single crackdown had become a continental shift. For centuries, Africa was treated as a place to extract its people, resources, and labor taken by others. Even after independence, many nations remained under quiet control through money, weapons, and secret agreements. Traoré's message to the world was simple: that era is over. By exposing Israel's hidden influence and cutting ties, he made a bold declaration. Africa is no longer a silent partner. It's no longer a pawn. It's watching, thinking, and ready to act. The Traoré Doctrine is more than a security policy. It's a new vision of African sovereignty. Of course, challenges remain. Powerful nations won't surrender influence easily. Some may retaliate with economic pressure. Some African leaders may hesitate, afraid of losing foreign funding. But Traoré has one thing that foreign powers don't: the people. Across Burkina Faso and beyond, citizens are rising in support. Young Africans, activists, thinkers, and leaders are rallying behind the idea that Africa deserves to set its own rules and shape its own destiny. This movement is growing. Mali, Guinea, Niger, they were just the beginning. More countries may soon follow. Traoré's actions have sent shockwaves through international politics. What began as a targeted operation may become a defining moment in modern African history. So, the question now is, will more leaders join him? Will Africa finally take full control of its future? And what will the world do to try and stop it? Because this isn't just a story about Burkina Faso. It's about every African nation ready to stand tall, speak loud, and say, "We decide now."